Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, it's been a sweet minute since I've actually been able to sit down and make some content. And make a video on this channel. The last video you saw was, I think, even a music style video. Now, unfortunately, I just don't have the time to make those. But welcome to the video topic today. It's more of a sit down and talk style of video, and that's what I think I'm going to be starting to bring to this channel. Now that I've actually realized that I really do enjoy making content, and I actually am going to continue to do so. You can also find that a lot of my videos are going up on the Vortex Entertainment YouTube channel as well. That is, of course, my company. If you are new to this channel or new to my content personally, I do run an esports business, and that is what the conversation of this video is going to be about, which is my my esports company and me in esports as a whole, because it is coming up to, well, it has surpassed essentially my first full year in esports full time, which is, it's crazy to think. It's crazy to think that, yeah, I mean, I've got some notes written down here just because there is a lot to talk about, especially, so, you know, just I tend to waffle, so I'm sorry for that. I'll keep it as short and as sweet as possible, but I am going to fairly keep this unedited so that you guys can at least see the full video, and I'll keep it concise, but I will go into details, of course, on certain subjects. So, yeah, I mean, to start things off, I started in esports back in 2014. I worked for a company called Innovate Gaming in their Innovate Live sort of subject bracket. They branched into esports and branched into broadcasting, and that was my forte. Little 14-year-old me. Commentating. I did a reaction to one of my most earliest paid gigs. I'll put a clip of that in right here.
If you do want to go and check out the other languages, we have Hitbox. We have Hitbox CSGO DE for the German side.
Oh my god.
We have Hitbox CSGO.
The one thing already noticeable is the audio quality. As you can see with this microphone, it is incredibly good sound quality, and you know, it should be for the £330. So you can see from my voice and how I acted, and my accent even is different on broadcast compared to what it is now. So, you know, it's completely different. It is a big throwback from 2015-16 when I got my first paid jobs in esports, freelancing. And yeah, I was doing esports and YouTube and online content throughout my high school and college years. But it was never really where I ended up seeing myself in a job. And at the time, esports, even in 2014, for someone like me who didn't really know too much of the scene and know that there were that many big events, and obviously back then with the majors of CSGO, they weren't as big as they are to this date. CSGO is the game that I primarily work in. So it never really was a job option for me. It was something that I did on the side. It was something that I did mostly unpaid. I did it because I enjoyed it. I started my own channel and got 800 followers or so, and that was awesome for me. So I was content. I was really happy with where it was going, and doing it as just a hobby is something that I love, because I actually wanted to go into creating my own business, sure, but in the computer repairs industry. That was what I was looking to get into, in terms of actually opening up a physical premises and, you know, taking in computer repairs, laptops, phones, and, you know, building custom PCs, custom gaming PCs, and going to people's houses and doing the setups and all that. And that was the plan that I had, even right from the age of 14. There was a building for rent just near my house that I always said was going to be mine one day, and it, scarily enough, it sort of became occupied by another company around a year before I went to college. So that was sort of a weird coincidental thing, but yeah, it was never really the job option that I was looking to go into. It never was an option for me, but obviously when I went into high school and out of high school into college, I again progressed with the thought that I was going to continue doing IT. I was very close to picking business, and I think that might have been a not better choice, but maybe a more well-equipped one for the current job that I'm in now. But IT was good, at least for keeping my skills up, and I learned a lot about the networking side, the programming side of things. I'm actually just looking at some code that my friends are discussing right now, which looks completely foreign to me. So obviously being out of college for around 11 months now is really taken its toll on me, unfortunately. But my tutors, I'm incredibly sorry. But speaking of my tutors, they allowed me, and we'll discuss this more in further detail in a minute, but they were very supportive in what I did, incredibly, which is always nice Teachers, sure, they didn't particularly understand. Especially, like, I didn't really tell my high school teachers what I was doing, but my college tutors were incredibly interested, especially because I was taking time out of college to pursue online events and such, and when LANs needed me or when online needed me, and I was flying to Germany for ELC work and such, who, flew me out to Germany for 3 weeks, which was awesome. They were incredibly supportive, but we'll get into that further down. So obviously back in 2016, I met my sort of co-founder of Vortex, Lucas. We worked on a project, I think it may have been 2015 even. We worked on a project called Exotic PT, which was a Portuguese-based company who unfortunately did us a little dirty. All the money that we sort of generated or the sponsors that we got, they wanted a massive cut of, and it wasn't really profitable, or wasn't really profitable for Lucas, who again was sort of running that with a party who again tried to do him a little dirty. So then me and Lucas sort of started linking more on the business side of things. He drafted me in a little bit more into the meetings and into the conversations, and eventually we ended up just going as a partnership together and into what was then known as Thunderpick TV. And Thunderpick TV was something that we never really discussed, just because it was or don't really discuss now, because essentially we worked with a sponsor, Thunderpick.com, who actually are an incredible group of people, and they paid us a monthly budget. We casted games, we hosted 3 tournaments with them, like $23,000 total dollars of prize pool money and over 2 million views, and we did an incredible job with those guys. But then we moved into Vortex Entertainment, and that was what we established on the 12th of April 2018. But we've been in esports, me and Lucas, since like 2016. So that was when I met Lucas, and we made Thunderpit TV and Exotic, and we worked together and have been ever since. If we move forward into me sort of finishing college, I was in college until June or so, right up until the end, until I was basically, signed off by the college themselves. I think it was like the 29th of June. But I started to cut my hours completely down to where I was basically not going into college, not because I was being a bad student or anything, just because I'd finished the work and I was way ahead of everybody else. Because I would breeze through my work in college, get my head down, get everything done, and then I could focus on my job at home rather than having to do the college work. And that was something that I put a lot of time into, making sure that when I'm in college for the hours that I am, I get a hell of a lot of work done. My tutors were incredibly, supportive, but very, very impressed that I was keeping up with the workflow and doing the job that I was doing. So my tutors, like I said before, just a couple of minutes ago, they were incredibly supportive in what I was able to do, and gave me the hours off college to be able to then be able to work on events and be able to be taking days off early and leaving early or coming in late just to make sure that I got the casts done that I was doing, and building the relationships and the meetings, the sponsors, everything. Basically, they were very, very supportive with. They didn't particularly understand it. I think it was especially when you tell someone of an older generation who sure uses the internet but doesn't know its full capability, doesn't know about people watching YouTube videos, and it seems to blow people's minds that us lot enjoy sitting here watching other people play the game rather than playing the game ourselves. That's something that they can't seem to particularly get their head around. You can all pretty much, if you're watching this video, guarantee you've met someone that has said something similar in terms of, why do you not play the games yourself, or why do you watch them play the game, or why do you talk over playing these games? That's one I get a lot. But yeah, it's one of those things where it is a bubble that we're in, essentially, and until that bubble bursts and we do flow out into the mainstream, and sure, Fortnite and other big esports titles have gotten there, but it's definitely not something that the older generations will understand, and we can't blame them. But they were at least incredibly supportive. They gave me the hours off of college and allowed me to essentially get to where I am today. So for that, I do thank you. I'm going to go in once the lockdown is over and say hi to them and let them know how I'm doing, because I haven't spoken to them in a while, but they were incredible. They weren't tutors, essentially. They were your friends, which was great. But since coming out of college, I was starting incredibly well. I came back off of holiday in the beginning of July. That was like my vacation before I headed into full-time work mode. And July up until September was incredibly good. It was a very, very busy time for me. I was working with an incredible company called UCC, who again are running online tournaments like Vortex is. They picked myself and Teo up, who is my co-commentator, as pretty much their headline duo. We were working a hell of a lot of events for them. Pretty much like 5, 6, 7 days a week, mostly long hours or so, doing 3 best-of-3 matches a day. So we were on that grind, and we were really working our way up to where we are today. And then in September, things started to get a little quiet. and I was earning good money, but I wasn't earning enough to save. So I was, buying the equipment for the studio and expanding the studio, because obviously here next to me we do have over there we used to have the first version of the studio, which is now not operational. It's now over here next to me. But again, I was spending the money to be able to upgrade the parts in the studio, get the camera, get the better equipment, get the microphones, get the monitors, get the lights, redecorate, make the studio look good, extra monitors and such. So there was a lot of money that went into it. So I was essentially paying my bills, paying my rent, paying my car insurance, paying for the car itself. But I didn't have too much to save. And when work dried up for a couple months, I was in a lot of trouble, essentially, and I actually applied for real-world jobs. Didn't get any of them, didn't get any contact from any of them, despite having way more experience than the job description itself listed. I applied for, I think, 2 or 3 event manager jobs, because that is something I'm incredibly good at, being organized and such, and actually putting on good events. And that was in the real world. It was close to my area, but I didn't get any even replies back from them, despite having a CV that overwhelmed the job criteria. And that's not me bragging, that's just me saying I've got the experience. They definitely should have contacted me back, but that was their loss at the end of the day. But who knows, I maybe at this point in time might not have been in esports. Scarily, that was the decision that I had to make, and I put a tweet out that got like 100 likes or so, and essentially I was just basically saying I might not be here. The work dried up, jobs. Sure, there was there were very little tournaments, few and far between, and with so many casters in the scene and so many good talents. Sure, me and Teo, we proved that we were an incredible duo, and we still are an incredible duo. Like, I'm not bragging or flexing. We are just a very, very good commentary duo. Hence why we've been working extensively for over a year and a half now. But there were tournaments just drying up left, right, and center, and again, with Counter-Strike and esports as it is, they come around in peaks and troughs. Some days you can be working, 29 days of the month, and others you'll be on like 7. You'd be lucky to even get a week's wage. So, it is different. And back then as well, the prices weren't particularly that competitive. A lot of people that thankfully now aren't in the scene were undercutting the prices. They were, bringing the price down for our value. And essentially, we were working for less than minimum wage in some countries. And sure, you can say that, places like the Eastern European casters who work in the English language might be getting less or might be earning more than minimum wage, but they've got to make a living, and people were undercutting the prices to the point where it wasn't even worth it. We were turning down events that were essentially saying we can pay you less than the UK minimum wage for even an apprentice, which was like, it was insane. So again, there was the fact that I might not have even been in esports at this point, and I applied for real world jobs, but thankfully the work picked up incredibly. We got ourselves back on track. Vortex started getting events. We had an incredible run of tournaments we were able to pick up and get the money behind us and the funding again to be able to keep going. Now, interestingly enough, Vortex has never been privately funded, has never done a venture capitalist run, has never had any investments. We've done this off of the back of sponsorships and our, very intimate and close, trusted relationships with the clients that we have. So, hence why there was a little bit of worry on my part. But then, coming into this September, into October, things started to pick up. Myself and Teo got signed to United Masters League, and from then on we've been working pretty much non-stop. It has been, we were down here at the end of like September, and both me and Teo, he'll probably not mind me saying this, because we work together, we get paid the same. So because I wasn't earning money, he wasn't earning money, so we were both essentially, down here, and now, we're way up here. We're working with some of the best brands in the space at the moment. So it's always good to see, and it always feels good. But I understand this video has been running on quite a lot. I will start to wrap things up now, but yeah, from then onwards, I have been working quite extensively. So yeah, right now I'm currently working on the Home Sweet Home Cup with Grid, who are an incredible bunch of people, and I've met some incredible people as well through esports, some of which, they're like my best friends. It's one of them where you meet people, and sure, I've never met them in person or have yet to meet them in person, but they're some of the best people to not just work with, but just to be around as well. So yeah, it's been a fun year. It really has been a fun year, and here's to another one. Especially right now, it's one of the better positions that I've been in for a long time. I'm feeling good. Esports is looking good. a very, very, thriving scene that we're all in. So that's going to be it from me. If you have enjoyed this style of video where I essentially just sit down and ramble, I'm sorry it has been a long one, but I feel like it's one that a lot of you will not just appreciate but take interest in as well, and especially with me rambling, hopefully some developments coming after lockdown in terms of content. Looking to get the Vortex podcast into the Vortex up and running, where we can start to speak with pros and fellow esports industry professionals, get the podcast up and running. I'm also looking to, again, like I was back in 2018, start to apply once lockdown is over to go into schools and do talks about esports, because that's something that I really want to do, and talk about esports and educating them, and obviously the job prospects, but the career aspects of things as well, in terms of being a player and all the jobs you can do, and yeah, just definitely educate people on what is a growing industry. But that's going to be it from me. Make sure you subscribe if you have enjoyed this kind of video. It'd be greatly appreciated for you to drop me a sub. I'm going to start making much more content, as well as go and subscribe to the Vortex channel as well. We're posting regular content on there as well. That's going to be it from me, though. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.